Once you have all your detailed outlines on and you have erased your grid lines, you are ready to start shading. So for this video, I'll do some parts where I show and explain the detail and other parts that I sort of speed through. The eyes are one part where you want to add a decent amount of detail, and what you're going to need is an ebony pencil, a regular pencil, and a blending stump. And probably for the project you're going to want a pencil sharpener too. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, which is the most important part, is to plan out your highlights. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just sort of draw right in the center, overlapping with the white and with the iris, kind of like this, a big highlight. And then I'm going to erase so that there's no lines inside of it. And you are welcome to do very detailed highlights according to what your eyes actually look like. Or if you want to just kind of do a general dot that overlaps with the iris and the white, that's okay too. Next, you're going to draw in the pupil, and rather than little tiny pupils, which can sometimes result from a camera flash, I think it's a little bit nicer to do pretty big pupils, about like that. And you want to just make sure that wherever your iris is, mine's over here since I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, that it's in the dead center, the pupil is in the dead center of the iris. And you want both of your pupils to be the same size, or it will look like you're having a stroke. Okay, so after you draw them on, then you're going to switch to the ebony pencil. Since the pupil is a hole, it's as black as we can make it. Okay, so go ahead and fill the pupil with ebony pencil so that it's pure black. Probably most of you will have to do almost like a reverse eclipse, because the highlight will be in front of the pupil a little bit, and that's okay. The other thing you'll notice is on your irises, the outer edge is really dark. So with the ebony pencil, you're also going to go over that outer edge of the iris. Okay, then with the regular pencil, you're going to draw in the starburst lines of the iris like this. Then you're going to take your blending stump and go over the iris. And if the lines you just drew kind of get covered up, that's okay. We can just draw them back in if we need to. Notice how it didn't really fade the dark outlines I just did. So what I like to do is sort of go back over the edge of the iris and fade those inward. And I'm just, of course, really careful of the highlight while I'm doing that. Okay, maybe I'll go back and draw a few of those iris lines back on. Okay, then you are going to take the ebony pencil and go over the line where your top eyelashes are. Because if you notice on your photo, this is pretty much everybody, that line at the top edge of your eye is pretty dark. Okay. Okay, and remember, you do not want to draw on your eyelashes until you've done all the shading around your eye. So contain your excitement on those. Now, we want to show that the eyeball is a sphere and not flat. And the way we do that is we shade the edges. And if you notice, probably on your photo, the very middle part of your eye, the white of your eye anyway, is white, but the edges are shaded. So we're going to show that right now too. So all I'm going to do is take my blending stump over all the edges of the eye. And I'll go over the tear duct. You can draw that on if you haven't already. And then actually, I'm going to go back because I left sort of a white outline right here that also is in the white of the eye, and I feel like that looks kind of weird. So I'm going to erase that edge of the highlight since that entire area is white anyway. And then maybe I'll fade that in a little better. Okay, and then before you add any more detail, like if you're wanting to get super detailed with this, wait until you have more on there, and then you can always go back and add it in. Next, you are going to do the shading all around the eyes, and probably you're going to want a place where you can color extra right now. So I'm going to like scribble on the corner of my sketchbook. And I'm going to do my nose, or not my nose, I'm going to do the bridge of my nose. So if you will notice, the bright white areas on my face, there's a bright white area right here, kind of on my eyelid, and nowhere around my eyes really. The other spots are like my cheeks, my chin, tip of my nose, and those are the only places you leave as white as the paper. Everywhere else should have some amount of shading. So we're going to shade all around the eyes, and what that will result in to start is it'll look like we have black eyes, but that's just because we haven't shaded the rest of the face yet. So don't get nervous, it's correct. And what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to darken in the eyelid lines that are darker, like right here, that little spot. It's kind of like a weird, since my eye's on the corner. My laugh lines right here are darker, and over here, this spot right here is pretty dark. And then I'm going to go over it with the blending stump. And that'll just sort of fade those out and make it look like skin. And again, we're going to do the eyelashes, but not yet. Okay, now I'm going to do the bridge of my nose. So in order to give your nose structure, right now, if I were to leave this all white, it would look like the bridge of my nose was this wide, but it's not, right? It's more like this wide. So I need to bring the shading all the way over to this point. So if I'm measuring, I would say that's about halfway between this eye and that line of the bridge of my nose, which is almost all the way over to here, okay? So that'll feel kind of scary, but just do it anyway. And I'm not going to use the tip of my blending stump, I'm going to use the side because this is a flat area and I don't want it to look streaky. So I'm going to pick up my extra graphite and I'm going to start putting it on there. I'm going to start with the darkest spot, right? And actually that'll be a little bit darker, but I'll I'll add that in later. And then this fades up to the eyebrow. Now I'm ready to move down and start shading my nose. So I'm going to use the ebony pencil for my nostril a little bit, and then the blending stump for pretty much everything else. Okay, do not give yourself a giant pig nose hole, please, because none of you really would have that. Even if you have the round nostril, if you can see a lot of nostril, you're still going to only kind of color at the top like this. And then you're going to fade it down with the blending stump. Okay, after you have that on there, you're going to go over, let's start with the outer corner of the nostril. Okay, and again, the way you show structure of the nose is by adding all the shading on the nostril. A lot of people just want to leave the whole middle of the nose white, and what that does is flatten your nose and get rid of the structure. So to show the structure, you really want to kind of just really squint at it and look at the shapes of the shadows. So next you're going to add shading all around the nostril. Like where the tip of my nose is, right? So it's more like way up here that should be light, not down there. And then, I don't know, everybody's is slightly different, so you just kind of have to look at the shapes of the shadows. Like on this is going to sort of come down. When you're ready to do the mouth, you're going to start with the ebony pencil, and you're going to look at the very darkest parts of your mouth, which probably are the two corner triangles, and then usually the top or the bottom of the top lip, kind of like that area. Okay, and then you're just going to kind of, so why don't you start by coloring in those corners, and if there's a hard spot where it stops, like on this edge of my teeth, there's kind of a hard line where the edge of my teeth are, you'll color that in, whereas on this side it sort of like fades. Next, usually your top lip is a little darker than your bottom lip, so you're going to fade this upwards slightly, but you want to recreate whatever your lip color is. So, I don't know, you might use a lot of blending if you have darker lips, and you'll just do lightly if your lips are lighter. Like mine. Like I'm actually even going to go ahead and erase that line. I think it's too dark for my lips on top. Okay, then you're going to use the blending stump on your gums if they're showing. And again, you're not showing every detail of your teeth. That'll look end up looking weird if you do. You're just kind of showing the idea that there's some teeth there. Now, our teeth are not flat, right? They're a curve, right? They go like around our face. So to show that, usually the ones right in front are lighter, and then you add a little bit of shading to the side ones. However, since my head is on an angle, mine, like the two in front, are light, and then the ones over to this side, since the light is coming this way on my face, are lighter, but these ones over here have some shadow. Okay, so you'll just look at your photo and do it the way it looks. So I'll make these gums a little darker also over here on this side. Then whatever color your lips are, like mine are barely there, so I'll just add a little bit of shading on them. Maybe I'll go in with the pencil and there's a few cracks here below my teeth that could be just slightly darker, I think. Okay, now you're ready to shade all around your mouth. So probably most of you will have laugh lines that you want to get placed really correctly. So usually they're just a little bit away out from the corner of your mouth, and then usually they arc towards this top edge of your nostril, and then kind of just usually down at a slight angle. So look at yours. Hopefully you use the grid to kind of draw yours in to get it really accurate. Otherwise, just do the best you can. Some of them you might draw with pencil, others you might draw just with the blending stump. So just to kind of show you, I've been switching back and forth. Like sometimes I use the regular pencil to blend, and then sometimes I use the ebony pencil. So when I'm getting over to the shadowy side of my face, I'm still, you know, showing highlights and shadows, but they're all darker. So I'm going to use the ebony pencil like for down here on my jawline, and then the regular pencil for the highlights, because it's not the bright white like over here, it's just lighter. All right, once you have all the skin on your face shaded, you are ready to go back and do eyelashes and eyebrows. Okay, and the way you do that is just by drawing on individual hairs with a regular pencil, unless you have super dark eyebrows. Then I guess you could use the ebony pencil. But look at the individual hair length and direction, and you're just gonna sort of, mine are super light, so mine are not a great example because most people's aren't this light. You're just going to kind of draw in the individual hairs, kind of like this. And then if you want, you can also go over it a little bit with the blending stump just to kind of connect them and make them slightly darker. Eyelashes. Notice how most people, you do not have eyelash, unless you have tons of makeup on, which you might, you usually don't have tons of eyelashes showing on the inner corner of your eye at all. It's more the outer edge. And so you're just going to kind of draw them on as they look. I'll just kind of do a few. Here, let me show eyelashes on here. The way you do eyelashes, so if this was a left eye, there's like the inner corner, right? The nose. You're gonna start on the outer corner, and if you have makeup on or if you have curly eyelashes, you're just gonna kind of go like this, short, long, and then kind of stop at the top. And then only a very few on the bottom usually show, something like that. Another type of eyelash are sometimes people's eyelashes either go straight to the side or straight down. And so what you're going to do is the same thing where you're going short, long, but you're just going to kind of have them do this over the eye. Okay? And then usually those, you don't even see them on the bottom. For the ear, same thing. You're just going to draw in the darks and lights and go over it with the blending stump. In the next video, I will show you how to do hair.